Hey guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. Greetings, Ping. Hello, welcome to the stream. Hello, hello. So today we have a few things to talk about. Over there, they are still cleaning up the rest of those houses that they tore down on Monday, and so periodically they've actually been like making really loud bangs that have been shaking the floor over here. So if you see anything like start jiggling or moving, that's probably what's happening. It's not like an earthquake or anything. It's just them like loading and unloading stuff and crushing down like dirt and the old foundations. So welcome to the stream. Hey, Sandwich, good evening. So on today's stream, we are going to be working on our last piece of our grill set. So far, we have a steak flipper, we have a grill fork, and we have a grill spatula. So these are the pieces of the lovely set that we have been making this week. And for our last piece, we are going to be doing a set of grill tongs. So this time we're starting with a 16-inch long piece of 5/8 inch square stock, and that means it is 40.62 centimeters in length, and once again 15.88 millimeters wide square stock. So I'm going to move these over here so I can kind of move a little bit. So basically, this is double the length of all of the rest of the starting stock dimensions for the rest of the tools, because we're basically making two halves that are attached together. So we're going to make one tong half over here and one tong half over here. And then we're going to thin out the central area here, and we are going to fold it in half. We want to thin this out just enough. That's that big old boom. I heard it. I don't know if you guys have. Anyway, so we're going to thin this out enough that we're actually going to be able to bend this and squish it together like a set of tongs. So let's see. Give me 1 second. I knew that I forgot something when I was getting ready for the stream today. And that something is my center punch. So today, because we want each side of this set of tongs to be equidistant, we are going to put some center punch marks in the center of this bar. So I think I left my, yes, I did, my tape measure. I left it over there. Goodness gracious, can you guys hear that? 8-inch mark is right here. Yes, you guys can hear that? Yeah. Out the window. What are they even doing? I don't even know. They're just grabbing giant pieces of like wood, I think. I think it's a tree that they knocked over earlier, and they're picking up the log and sticking it in a dump truck. So yeah, that's what that giant noise is. So I apologize. That's gonna happen. All right. I'm going to put this center punch mark in here. Just like so. And then the ad should be showing up. All right. Once that ad is finished, I'm going to turn on the mailbox, because we're going to do this whole thing in the mailbox, or as much of it as possible as we are in the mailbox. I I remembered to clean out the scale out of it. So any more green fire is going to be because it's contaminated. It's not that I can clean it out. So I remembered this time. For once in my life. There we go. We've got a good center punch mark in there now. Theoretically, this should make it a lot easier for us to keep the two ends of this set of tongs equidistant or the same length. So let me estimate it. Okay. Seems good. Seems centralized. So that is great. Goodness gracious. It's just going to be loud today. Like I said, I think what they're doing is they knocked down a couple of, or like a tree, and I think that they are cleaning up the tree because they're turning that area into tennis and pickleball courts. We did actually hear that they were going to turn it into tennis and pickleball courts before they started destroying the houses, but not because they notified us, just because my partner interviewed the mayor of our town for work a few weeks ago. And so we were aware that it was going to happen, but they didn't even warn us when it was going to happen or like, you know, that they were going to do it like in any official capacity. So I'm kind of like, that's kind of stupid. I'm not excited about that. All right. So the ad is over. So what we're going to do is we're going to start up the mailbox. Like I said, come on. Maybe we're starting up the mailbox. Goodness gracious. I don't even have a fan on right now. I don't know what's going on. Let's turn that off for a minute. And I'm going to check out my... Oh, that's why. I'm out of flint. It takes a long time to, like, finish one of these guys. Give me half a second. I'm so sorry. This is not something that I, like, plan for, because it hardly ever happens. Let me see if I can't find where I have my flint. There it is. So these guys right here are little flints that you can replace the strikers, or for the strikers. So this is threaded, and then there's like a little piece of brass on the end of this, and it goes in here like so. And so now there's a new flint on that. So all you gotta do is kind of go like that. All right, let's see if this actually like lights now. Hey, super fast this time. Alrighty. Coolies. I'm not sure if they would warn us here if they did something in the neighborhood. Probably not, unless they would do it during the night. Then they have to warn the neighborhood. I mean, I suppose that's true. They don't have to warn me, but it would have been really nice, you know? Then I wouldn't have woken up on Monday and 10 minutes later heard a giant loud bang and was like, what is that? Let me put these away in my drawer. That way I can find them the next time this happens in like 6 months. Alrighty. So, I have put a center punched line or dot in the center of the bar. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start by creating the neck section of both sides of this bar. First one, then the other. And then we are going to start working on the center. So let's heat up the bar. Welcome in, Mahalo. Hello, hello. So, today is our last stream in the shop before Quad State. So our next stream will be on Saturday instead of Friday at 2:30 Eastern US time. And we will be live from Quad State. So that is in Ohio. So I would totally stream both Friday and Saturday, but I will be leaving really, really early in the morning. And we won't be getting to Quad State until probably 3 o'clock Eastern time. And so I just want to make sure that, you know, we have some consistency with time. And I also need a little bit of a buffer so that I am not immediately going from the van to a stream. So we're going to kind of set up and talk to some people, see if we can't, you know, do some interviews and set up a few things before our stream on Saturday. So I'm super excited about that. They took down a large office building near me in the neighborhood here. It was like a block away and a street away. I still felt and heard the vibrations when they shattered the foundation. There was no official information. Yeah. I guess the reason I thought that we would be notified is because when I was back living with my parents, the hospital that my siblings were born in was less than a mile away from us. And when they imploded that building, they notified the entire community around that because it was going to be a giant implosion. So they let us know, and we definitely heard and felt that implosion. So I guess I just assumed that they kind of had to notify you. So I guess it was just a courtesy for them to notify us. So, let's see. The next couple days, after the stream and then all day tomorrow, I'm going to be getting ready for our Ohio trip. We've got most of our stuff together, but I still need to print off some cards for the channels, and I've got to pack and load everything up into the van. We got a portable toilet for the van in case of like emergencies or something. You know, in the middle of the night when you just don't want to go out to the, outdoor bathroom at the campsite. So that's kind of an interesting and also fun fact. Some campsites in the United States won't actually let you camp in a camper unless you do have a toilet of some type. So that's another reason why we got the portable toilet. It's like a composting toilet, so that's kind of strange. I don't think I want to use it if I can at all help it. If they blow things up, there's a certain perimeter they have to evacuate. Maybe that's why they let us know. We weren't part of the evacuation area, but we were close enough that we definitely felt the boom and the shake. Huh. Maybe I did get rid of the manganese in the mailbox. I don't see any green flames. Interesting. There was like hardly anything that came out of the mailbox when I tipped it over. So I don't know. It must have been like the tiniest little chip then. Weird. I am super excited about the trip. I'm going to have so much fun. I'm going to meet a whole bunch of blacksmiths and people, and we're going to do some interviews and a little bit of shopping. We're also going to watch a bunch of demos and see maybe if we can get some hands-on work in. I'm not entirely sure if we're going to do that, but I'll try. I'll try to get some hands-on in. Rather yellowy, but also it wasn't green all last time before. Interesting. Maybe it got burned up. I don't know. So, the technique that we're going to be using for the initial tapering is very similar to the technique that I have used in the past for making regular tongs, like this set of tongs. So we isolated a section for the bit area, the pinchy area that holds the meat or whatever. And then we're going to start tapering out the neck section. And I want it to be very similar in diameter to the rest of our pieces so that they all look like a similar set and that they all work together. We will be having two handles, one on either side, that are going to be the twists, just like we've done on all of the rest of the stuff. But instead of doing the piggy tail here, we are just going to flatten it out similarly to when we did the spatula, but it's just going to be a little area. And that's going to be the bend. So the thinner we are able to make that area, the easier it is going to be to open and close those tongs. We're kind of creating a spring. It's very similar to a spring swage if you're familiar with that. So that's kind of the design that we're going with. We are being gifted by Ray. Oh, grilled. We're being grilled. I have no idea where I got gifted from grilled. I don't know. I don't know that I'm going to be grilling you guys, but I am making a grill set so we can grill together, you know? So Monday, the plan is to, the plan is to still stream, but I think it's about a 50-50 shot. I may still be recovering from this weekend. So like I said, I imagine it's about a 50-50 shot. On Monday, if we can stream, if I can manage to get the energy up, we are going to be back out in the carport with the coal forge, and I'm going to spend all stream teaching myself to forge weld pieces of mild steel together so that I'm more comfortable with the process of forge welding. I really want to take another shot at forge welding our axe, but I feel like I need to practice welding first. So that is the goal for Monday. If I cannot stream Monday, then we will be back on Wednesday, and we will either finish our tongs or we will be starting a new project, depending on if we finish our tongs today. So that is the plan. That's the goal for the rest of this week, I guess. Ray is not short for reading. Or Rhea isn't short for reading. See, I'm having trouble reading, obviously. But see, I got a little bit confused because my name is actually spelled R-A-E instead of R-E-A, so I don't know. Not to be nitpicky, even my own siblings sometimes flip the A and the E, you know? I've done various types of welding, and forge welding was difficult. Yeah, it definitely is. It's a whole different world than machine welding. And it's just something that I have to practice, I have to get comfy with. You know, it's hard on its own, even when you aren't demonstrating it. So we're gonna see how well it goes. I want to see if maybe we can do like maybe some animal heads where you fold the material back on itself and forge weld to create like a muzzle shape. I want to maybe think about doing some basket twists, so that what that is you take 4 bars and you forge weld the ends together and leave the middle unforge welded, and then you make a twist and you twist back and it will open up a little basket. A lot of people like to put like marbles and stuff in there, so we're going to try doing a little bit of that. We're also probably just going to start by taking 2 pieces of mild steel, holding them together and seeing if we can't just forge weld the ends together. You know, we're going to start really simple and we're going to keep working up, making it more difficult so that we can get more comfortable with the process. Cooking on stream or TV can be somewhat unsatisfying because, well, in the end, you do not actually get any of it, right? I mean, I guess you can totally spell my name in a lot of different ways. I mean, you could spell it Raerea, Rei, Ray. There's a lot of ways to spell Ray. All right, we're going to do our first heat over here on the tongs. So let's turn on the close-up cam. Start with our basic angle. So we are isolating out that very end. That's going to be where we create our grabber section, because we're making little grabbers on the ends. And I'm going to heat this back up again. So our next heat is going to be us starting to draw out this neck section. Flames have turned greenish again, have they? They kind of have. I don't know. I do my best. I think it's just contaminated with that manganese, you know? It never did the green flame until I used the Atlantic 33, so I just, you know. Oh, I have the opportunity to get more Atlantic 33 if I decide that I want to get some, because Coal Iron Forge, which is the vendor that I got the initial bar of Atlantic 33 from, will actually be at Quad State. They emailed me about it. Dear noobs, welcome to the stream. Sup, noob light? Happy to be back. How are you all? Or how you're all well? How did the nails come out? Right now it kind of looks purple. The fire does? I don't know. I'm seeing some green. I'm not seeing any purple. But maybe if I watch back, I'll see some purple. The nails actually turned out pretty decent. We made about 22 of them. So let me show you guys. So here's kind of an overview. Some of them look good. Others are kind of meh. Definitely need more practice. Whoops. I also just finished editing the video of us making these. And so that will be out next week. So watch for that guy. Nails are usually not supposed to come back out. I know, right? I dropped one. Which one did I drop? This one. It was a little one. One of the ones that we made on Wednesday. They're so small, they're really easy to lose. So yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I was a little tired at the start of the stream, but every time I start the stream, then I just get like this adrenaline rush, and I'm good to go for, you know, at least 2.5 hours, sometimes 3. I think you dropped number 21. Maybe I did. I don't know which one I dropped specifically. So yeah, like I said, I just finished up editing the nail video, and that'll be out next Wednesday. Today, I just released the video for our hot cut hardy tool. So that one is up on YouTube today. We've got a few views on it. It's not doing so. It's not doing bad. I also have a short that is the single heat nail that we did. So that's what the short consists of. Now, I lied to you guys on Monday. I said that, or somebody asked if they could see like the visuals of the fork when I separated the 2 tongs on the fork. And I said, so this fork, I said that I made a short of it and that it would come out on Tuesday. I lied. It comes out tomorrow. So I apologize for that. I forgot which order I posted those. So the tines for this particular grill fork, the short video that I made about the process of making these tines will be out on Thursday, so tomorrow. Welcome to the stream, oh my god, Pete. You can spell it one way, and the way it was spelled, I apologize. I try to get people's names right. I remember someone I wrote a training certificate for whose name was Christoph, and he said it was going to keep it handy. It was one of the few things that had his name correctly spelled. See, I appreciate correctly spelling names. I mean, like I said, most people actually, there are so many ways to spell it. Most people throughout my life have always spelled it R-A-Y. Or they asked me, like, you know, how, like, what the long form of my name is, thinking that Ray is just a nickname. Well, I have a middle name, but Ray is just my first name. That's like the whole first name that's on my birth certificate. So, you know. How many special characters do you want in your name? Yes. I mean, here in the United States, special character names are generally unusual, but there's a lot of them in other, you know, in the European Union and in other countries where special characters are relatively common. So, you know, and it definitely affects the pronunciation of the names. So, yeah. But it, like, as an American, I see the special characters, and it reminds me of when I'm in an MMO, like a massive multiplayer online game, and when a server has been going on for a really long time, and a lot of the names have been taken, a lot of people will just start putting random special characters in their name, and it's supposed to be pronounced without the special characters. You know, they like put Bob, but it's like an O with like 2 dots over the top, which is a completely different pronunciation than your standard Bob. But, you know, they don't know what it actually is pronounced like. So that's kind of what it reminds me of. And I know that's kind of an ignorant American or English way to think about things. But, you know, I am who I am. Infernal Rage 1009. Hello, welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. I think the special characters are there to adapt a foreign name to English or American. Of course, A with two dots is not A, and O with two dots is not O, and U with two dots is not U. Probably the same for the ones in the mentioned name, although I do not know that language. NB, the most spoken language in the world, uses no normal characters at all. Chinese. That is so true. We're gonna do another heat real fast. But yeah, it's kind of a cultural thing, you know? Some things in certain cultures are way more common than others. All right, back in the heat. So it looks like we are going to be getting an ad here in about 3 minutes or so. So what I think I'm going to do is wait until that ad is done for our next heat. We're getting a lot of really quick heating potential out of the mailbox, but I always like to make sure that everybody can, whether they are able to pay for Twitch Turbo or subscribe or not, gets to see all the heat. So we're going to wait until after the ad is done for the next one. Let's see. I remember there was a poll if parents would oppose teaching Arabic numerals in school. Most parents disapprove. These numbers are apparently 1 through, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 0. School really needs to be upgraded. Is it a 4-pound or a 3-pound hammer? This is a 3-pound hammer. So that is just under a kegogram, correct? I always say kegogram. I don't mean that. It's a kilogram. It's just under a kilogram. For those of you who are in the other areas of the world that use metric. So I'm making a point and trying very, very hard to remember to talk about, both imperial and metric measurements and make it a priority. Let me turn on my fan. I'm starting to sweat. But how should that work if the special characters are not pronounced correctly in English? I mean, hold on, basic. I want to learn about kegograms. I will. Germanic female name, or Ray, Germanic female name, meaning teaching or counsel. How appropriate. Kegogram is an Oktoberfest measurement. It probably is, guys. It probably is. It's a keg. Or maybe it's like you instead of a Valentine or a telegram, you get a kegogram. It's when someone sends you a keg of beer or meat or something. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think that's $1 million idea. Nice. Couldn't tell the size of the camera angle. There's a sound in the African language that has a click sound expressed as an exclamation point, for example. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people here in the United States, I know for me that a lot, oftentimes I'll read stuff without the special characters, and then after I've realized that I've screwed it up clearly, I ask for a pronunciation on things, and I listen and I try to mimic it as best as possible. But even when I try and mimic it, I always have like a an American accent, you know. We are currently in ads. So once the ad is over, we're going to do another heat. I am actually going to change the angle on the camera because we are going to be focusing more on the horn of the anvil. So I'm going to move the camera over there so you can kind of see a little bit better that direction when we're directly hammering on the horn. I want you guys to be able to see really nice and close. Let's see. That should work there. Maybe we'll bring it back just a hair. There we go. Much mo better. And that's definitely not proper English. Much mo better. Oh wow, I totally and completely missed this one. That's a big, long comment. You mean written in English or in an English translation? Then yes. I don't have familiarity with these languages to share with you the required keyboard smash to convey the example. Perhaps some YouTube videos. Yeah. Did you finish your spatula? I did finish my spatula. It's right here. I hope it kind of looks like a spatula to you guys. I mean, pretty fit or pretty fat, you know, not too bad. It's got a nice bend in it, a little bit more ergonomic. Works pretty well. So yes, this is our third piece of our set. So we've got a steak flipper, a grill fork, and a spatula. So we are currently working on a set of tongs. We're just getting started. Kegogram, you hear a doorbell ring and a Germanic person in lederhosen, or a dirty with two foaming mugs of beer. Spatula looks very spatula-ish. It does. Are you going to season them? I'm not sure. I know that I should probably at least take a wire wheel to them to get rid of all of the scale that's developed on them, and just make them look a little bit more pretty. However, I don't know that I'm going to season them, probably because I'm more interested in putting them on the project wall up there than actually using them for their intended purposes. So I probably won't actually season them because they're just going to hang as a display piece. But if I were going to use them, then yes, I would definitely season them. Then the A is there to be pronounced as intended in German, not English. If you would want it to be pronounced as an English native speaker, you would leave out the A, for example. Man, I'm missing people's comments. I'm probably gonna leave out the A and write key. Okay. I just got back from my local marketplace. I spent almost a day on settings, cutting on their CNC plasma table. I'm making a special bracelet for my new entertainment stand to hold everything together. Ooh, that sounds like fun. It was a lovely day of high voltage, fire, and blood. Ooh. That's always fun. Less so the blood. I'm not a big blood person, you know? But I respect it happens. You know, I do bleed quite often here in this shop. Will you have any kind of finish on them to keep them from rusting? I mean, probably not, to be honest, because nothing up here has any finish on it whatsoever. I just kind of take the scale off and allow the fire, like, patina to kind of live on it. Oftentimes, unless you aren't touching it or, polishing it, cleaning it, whatever, oftentimes or if they are being maintained, they don't develop rust. I do have some pieces that have rusted because they've just been sitting for forever, but most of my pieces are I don't finish them just because I'm lazy. And if it's not going to a client, I don't care. Um, so perhaps raw for Ray might be acceptable. I mean, that could work. The pronunciation is not quite the same, then it would be rather rye. The now flames are green again. High voltage is normal. Fire means you are doing something wrong. Blood perhaps very wrong. Yes. See, fire for me is a daily occurrence. I mean, I'm a pyro. I love the fire. Electricity, I do it occasionally. All right, let's do another heat. We are currently tapering out the neck of the first half of our tongs. Ah. All right, more heat. It's okay. Everyone, only a little bit of blood. More success than blood for sure. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that you have more success than blood. I used to have this policy where if I didn't bleed on a piece of work that I was a piece of art that I was producing, then I would deliberately, because I felt like bleeding on a piece of art was good luck. I mean, oftentimes I would clean it if it was going to someone out there. But, bleeding for a piece of art, that's just, that's how you put that little extra bit of yourself into it, right? Infernal Rage 1008. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the community. I hope you're having fun. I sure am. Why you do it on the curved side and not the flat side of the anvil? The reason that I draw down on the curved side instead of the flat is because there is a lot less surface area that is touching the steel, right? And so if I put a full force blow down on the horn, then that force is being pushed back up from the anvil with much greater force than it would be if I was using the flat of the anvil. So when I'm doing a lot of really fast drawing, I have a tendency to do it over the horn. It's kind of like when you step in the mud with your boots, like just, your trainers or boots like these, you've got that nice tread, right? So you're going to stay relatively high off or in the mud. You're not going to sink down in it, right? Well, if a woman who wears, 6-inch pumps starts walking on that same mud, her heels are going to sink all the way down into the mud and she's going to have a bad time, right? Because the amount of force that your footstep is creating with a boot, the wider stance, there's less force going down. The area is more broad, right? So if that's the woman in the pumps, all of that pressure is going into that tiny little tip. And it's the same with when I'm drawing on the horn of the anvil. I'm getting a lot more force with a lot less effort. I'm thinking it pushes a little more mass around the long part. Needs just a little bit more iron and hemoglobin. Yes. So I hope I hope the little like story makes it a little bit more sense than just, you know, physics 101 sort of stuff. Or maybe it isn't physics 101, maybe it's more like physics 3 or 401. But yeah, you are putting more force in a smaller area. So it just you get a more squishing quicker. Ray wears proper boots because hammers are heavy and scale is dirty and things are hot in the forge. I have been known to wear 6-inch heels too on occasion. You like physics. That's great. I also love physics. I think my favorite is metallurgy, which is a much more specific facet of physics and chemistry. But yeah, I love science. It's part of the reason why I got into blacksmithing and metalworking in general, because there is a lot of science involved. Fancy 6-inch heels. All right, I'm going to do another heat, and then I'll tell you a story of my college roommate and her 4-inch heels. All right, more heat. So my college roommate, when I was in art school, she was just a regular business major, I believe, and she thought that I was a little bit out there because I worked with metal and clay and the dirty art. And so she had these set of 4-inch heels that she couldn't walk in. And she dared me to walk in her 4-inch heels down the hallway of our apartment. And she didn't think I could do it. So I put on her heels and I walked straight as an arrow without even a wobble down the hallway. And she was shocked. She lost that bet. I think she had to drink. I think that we were doing, like a, never have I ever type of thing. Or 6-inch heels to keep off the floor sounds reasonable. Get that can hold their own discussion. Black hides or passion in a hobby that are much more interested than 90% of the ladies I've dated these days. I mean, I like interesting hobbies, and I like people who also like interesting hobbies. That's an awesome heel story. Do the blacksmith meetings have a dress code? It seems kind of obvious, but I hope people don't show up with open-toed sandals. I have actually seen some blacksmiths show up to different blacksmith meetings with open-toed shoes or sandals. I mean, for me, I'm only comfortable when I'm wearing nice steel toes. you know, to the blacksmith meetings, but there are actually a lot of blacksmiths who will just blacksmith in sandals or barefoot in other countries that don't have such stringent, you know, safety procedures, I guess. Uh, yep, I could see that belt. I'm sure you're not on, or you're a riot on a night out. I mean, sometimes. Oh, I mean a day off. At least wear safety Crocs, right? See, like I said, I'm not comfortable unless I'm wearing steel toes in the shop because I want to be able to set things on my toe caps, or I want to make sure that I don't crush my toes if I drop things on my toe caps. You know, I dropped this guy, this giant pizza A2 on my foot the day that we were out attempting to forge weld that axe the last time. Ooh boy, did I get a bruise because it didn't land on my toe cap, it landed right here. So I can still feel that bruise. Not cool. I'm gonna get some more water and then we're gonna do another heat. I apologize if I missed some of you guys' comments. You guys are really talkative today, and I want to make sure that I've got everybody's comment, but I might miss a few. I definitely appreciate the socialness, though. Thank you. Ah, I'm about to overflow my water. Oh wow, that's a lot of flames licking out. Let me turn down the forge real fast. I don't know why it's so, or the flames are licking out that bad. Safety Crocs. If you never drop any tools or pieces and never brush up hot metal, you don't need any special clothes. But real people are not perfect. Yes. Oh man, talking safety, I was going up a ladder on the side of a boiler and there was steam line that passed near by the access. So I ever so slightly bumped that steam. Oh my gosh. I totally understand that. Yeah. Steam pipes are so awful. They are so hot, and if they ever get even like a pinhole in them, they can kill people so quick. Oh, you got to be so careful about those. All right, we're gonna do another heat. So careful with steam. Ah, what I get for missing, you know? All right, so we've got that neck about as long as we're gonna get it. It's a little bit skinny, but there's a few bump outs that I want to correct. So we're gonna do that over on the flat of the anvil. Once we've got that done, we're gonna flip this whole thing over and start making this again on this side. Do you ever swing with the other hand to balance out the work? No. No, I don't. And the reason that I don't swing with my left hand is because I am hopelessly right-handed. If anything ever happens to my right hand, I'm kind of screwed. Like, I'm barely dexterous at all with this hand. It's awful. So if I were to try and hammer with my left hand, I would miss more than I would hit the piece. I do actually like there. It's a surprising amount of work holding the piece with the tongs. So I may be doing a lot more aerobic work with my right, but I am lifting with my left as well. I am chronically ambisinister. Ambisinister. Is that like ambidextrous? Evil ambidextrous. That's what that sounds like to me. Seems like a funny stream. Wrong Hand Wednesday on the best theme stream on Twitch. I mean, maybe. Maybe if we get like, I don't know, 1,000 followers or something like that, maybe I will do a stream where I'm just hammering with my left hand. I feel like if I did that though, I'd honestly have to flip my anvil backwards. It would be fun though. I play the drums, right? Like the 5-piece rock band drum kit. And my mother is left-handed, and she also wanted to learn, so we kind of shared our lessons or had lessons back to back. And my drum instructor decided that it would be good for me to learn to play right and left-handed drum kit. And I was terrible with my left hand, but I sure tried. New channel point redeem. Stupid blacksmith tricks. Maybe. Dexter, right-handed, sinister. Left-handed, I am ambisinister. Equally bad with both hands. Okay. 42,000 points to switch hands? I mean, I don't know. See, I don't even know how many channel points that you guys have. Because I don't have any redeems, so the longer you guys have been watching, the more points you've got. So I'll bet you Ping and Mahalo have like thousands of points. I mean, would you guys, if I put a $42,000 or 42,000 channel point redeem, would you two be able to instantaneously hit it? Oh, I only got 420. Ooh, 420, huh? If it is all backwards, you have to take a pair of prongs and smith it into an even bar. Ooh, that would be difficult. Upsetting everything. Hey, Dark. Dark is currently at 13,600. Oh, 13.6K. And Duel is at 2.8K. And Sandwich has 57,000. Mahalo says I could redeem it a couple times before lunch, right? I don't know. Maybe I should do it for like, 5-10 minutes at a time or something. And that way you guys would be running out of channel points. All right, let's do another heat real fast. This would be so fun. 69,000 to switch tools. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. To something useless for fun. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll do like a day where we have a whole bunch of random channel redeems. Alright, that's not bad. I guess I do need to, it's a little bit bent, so we're going to try that again. Alright, so I am going to take this and we're going to flip it around so that we can start working on this section right here. Oh, my sinuses. Jeez Louise. They're messing with trees out there. Wreaking havoc. Goodness gracious. 40K, and you have to swing a Warhammer. A Warhammer would be fun, also very, very dangerous. I mean, that would be very similar to swinging a, where is it? I swear I have one around here somewhere. A claw hammer, right? Or something like this guy, right? This has a really sharp point on the end of it. So the reason that you don't want to use a claw hammer is because an anvil is actually designed to pop your hammer back up. So a good anvil will actually have a lot of return to it. So, you know, it kind of pops your hammer back. So you don't want to get hit in the arm or in the face with the end of this, or the end of like a claw hammer. It's not cool. It does take a while to build up points. I think we're being very reasonable with these suggestions. I know one lady that has a redeem for 50K, I think, where the chicken song plays and she drops everything, jumps into a chicken suit, and does a chicken dance. As it's often hilarious because she does everything and it's often a mess. Yes, anvils are surprisingly bouncy. I mean, if I do this, you know, I'm holding it like this, bounce up almost the full height. That's how you can tell you've got a good anvil. The higher it bounces, you get yourself a ball bearing, and you bounce it on the top of your anvil, and the higher it returns, the better your anvil is. Gotta go. See you next time. Have fun making your grill tongs. Thank you so much, Infernal. Welcome to the community. Have a great rest of your day. Hopefully we'll see you Saturday. All right, so we have an ad incoming in about 3 minutes. So once that's done, I'm gonna start on the other side of the grill tongs. I am gonna be moving this camera over here back to kind of over here so you guys can kind of see me isolate out the little grabber section while I'm at it. Is that the Rockwell test? I'm so rusty on these things. Forget Newton's cradle now, Newton's anvil. So the Rockwell test is to test the hardness of a piece of steel. It is often tested with specially hardened files. And the files, if they scratch the surface of your material, then it is softer than the file's designation. And when you get to the file that does not scratch your piece anymore, that is how hard your piece is. That is the Rockwell test. Demolition derby in the shop. Something like that. All right, I'm going to clean some of the scale off so it doesn't jump at me. I am always afraid of scale jumping at me. I am now imagining a Newton's cradle with a swinging anvil. Oh gosh, that would be scary. Which test is the little bouncy ball you check the dent on, or maybe it starts with an M. Yeah, I think it is a Mohs test, but I'm not positive. I don't remember like the exact names for some of the specific tests. It's been a really long time since I've actually been like in physics. But yeah. Goodness gracious. So once this ad is done, I will start isolating out the other grabby section, like the little tong area. that will actually be what is touching the meat when you flip it over on the grill. We're going to do the exact same thing from the other side that we did before. Once I've completed both sides, we are going to round out the necks and kind of work on the little, like the grabber section. So that is the plan for the next few heats. That is why I have not mentioned demolition. I read it in some power engineering books ages ago, but never finished the challenging the tests. Yeah, I've never been able to do or like to actually take a metallurgical test. So most or like a class. So most of my metallurgical knowledge is stuff that I've either run into, been taught by other blacksmiths, or looked up myself. And you know, I have a cursory knowledge, not anything terribly specific, but enough to be dangerous, you know? Yeah, the Mohs hardness scale is based on what can scratch what. The Rockwell test measures the depth of penetration of an indenter under a large load. Okay. I must have gotten those completely wrong. I must have gotten them mixed up. The Mohs hardness scale is based on what can scratch what, and the Rockwell test measures the depth of penetration of a indenter under a large load. I think I just read that, but yeah, I completely mixed them up, I think. All right, let's do another heat. We are going to start the opposite side. I gotta figure out the best way to hold this too without getting myself. All right, I'm gonna get some more heat. We're gonna keep on doing that isolation. Ah, cool. This is the best part of what we can do with Twitch. This is cool. Let's do a heat. Synergy. Lots of really big chunks of scale. So they're easily blown off, but sometimes there's enough there that, you know, I have to use the broom. Ugh. I am uncertain if we're going to finish these tongs today or if we're going to have to keep on working on them on Wednesday. What do you guys think? We've already come a pretty long way. We've got to continue drawing out this neck, which is going to take around the same amount of time as the previous neck that we drew out. We have to shape the parts that touch, and then we also have to create the hinge area, you know, I guess the spring section of it that allows it to open and close. I also want to twist each of the handles that we're creating in the vise. So what do you guys think? You think we're gonna make it, or you think that it'll take us another stream? I don't know. I'm thinking that we're gonna have to put some finishing touches on Wednesday. That's a lot of work. Descaling, but a different metal than your kettle. With the extra twist, not this stream. Yeah, like I said, I think that it's gonna take me at least a little bit longer than this stream. Because we only really do about 2.5 hours. And I definitely think that we're going to have to stop at about 2.5 hours. I started the stream a little bit on the tired side. So by the time we get to that 2.5 hour mark, I think I'll definitely need to take a break. So we'll get as far as we possibly can, and then we will finish the rest on Wednesday. Like I said, Monday is a 50-50 shot at whether we're going to be streaming or not, because we are canceling Friday's stream. We're shoving it to Saturday for our live stream at Quad State, the blacksmithing conference. Like I said, Monday's kind of 50-50. I might be still very tired from the trip. We are going to be returning on Sunday, probably late afternoon. So I will have a little bit of time to kind of rest up and unwind from the journey, but sometimes it takes me an extra day. So I'm going to do my best to be back on Monday, but I can't guarantee that. So I'm going to give you about 50-50 odds. That Monday stream, if we make it, will be all forge welding all day, because my partner doesn't go back to work until Wednesday. So when I got extra hands, I like to use them, you know? Thanks for the reminder. I need to descale my washing machine. That's interesting. A tired Ray will start to make mistakes, and mistakes hurt. Yes. I do have a personal rule where if I make 3 mistakes, if I injure myself 3 times or screw up 3 things on the piece that I'm working on, no matter how long I've been in the shop, I will stop and pack up and go inside and, you know, stop forging for the day. Because if I have made 3 major mistakes, that means that I'm not in the mental space to be able to safely continue working. So I have not had to call the 3 strikes and you're out rule in a very long time, but it is out there in case it happens, you know? So if I end up having to ever, you know, call the stream early, that might be the reason. A good rule, which explains why you still have 10 complete fingers. Yes, I have 10 fingers. And 10 toes. Although, one of my toes is missing a toenail because I accidentally ripped it off. All right, let's do another heat. I only saw that happen once. I think it's only ever happened on stream one time. But we were really close to the end anyway, so. All right. Let's turn this way. So we've got a good nub isolated here. It's a little bit, or it's clear, it's pretty close to the same size as this on, or like the one on this end. So we're going to take this over to the horn of the anvil for our next heat. We're going to start drawing that out again. Luckily, yes. Like, to be completely honest, I think in my entire time forging, I've only actually had to call in my 3 strikes and you're out rule about 5 times in totality. There are also exceptions to that rule where I have done something so bad that one strike and I was out. And that has only happened to me one time in the entirety of the time that I have been forging. And I wasn't even forging for that. I was actually I was doing silversmithing. I had a bundle of brass wire that was about this wide. It was just like little thin stuff, and I was trying to trim a piece or I was cutting a section of that wire so that I could trim a piece. It was a brooch that I was making, and so there was a zip tie on the to kind of keep the bundle closed, and I went to open the zip tie with my multi-tool, and instead of using the scissors, I used the knife. And that was the one and only time I ever pointed a knife at my hand, because I stabbed the webbing of my between my thumb and forefinger on this hand, and I I stopped, and I had to get it glued back together. Don't point a knife at yourself when you're using a knife, ever. A good rule in general, if it keeps you safe, it's worth it. Yes, definitely. So yeah, when they say don't point a knife at yourself ever, it's so true. So true. All right, I am going to move this camera so that it's focused a little bit further onto the horn of the anvil so we can get a little bit of variation. Also, I want to center the piece. Let's see, I might take it here, like so. It's a little bit farther away than I want it to be, but I think it'll be all right. Alrighty. That should be an alright angle. Super glue, when first invented, was used to close wounds. Yeah, I've used, like, I was making a bracket, and it was basically just a piece of round, or of like rectangular flat stock that I was drilling holes in, and the bit got caught and it spun around in there, and it cut open my hand that I was holding it with, and I glued that injury back together, and it was gorgeous. It worked so well. I don't even remember where. It happened probably around here. I don't remember. I just remember it bleeding and gluing it back together. All right, let's do another heat. All righty. This is where we got to start being a little bit more careful. I want both this side and this side to match. So we're starting this drawdown a little bit shorter than we did over here, specifically because we can always draw back further, but if we draw out too much, then we'll have to come back and do some more on this side. And I don't really want to have to go back. Oh. Those really heavy hammer blows take a lot out of me. I definitely will need to end the stream in at the 2 hour or 2.5 hour mark. But that's all right. A little bit more carefully. Hit as hard but carefully. Yes. And we are hitting as hard as, uh, the same heavy hammer blows, but we are being a little bit more careful where we're hammering, I guess. Goodness gracious. I'm gonna have to like blow my nose here shortly, I think. So yeah, like I said, I'm kind of drawing back a little bit shorter than I did previously. And so I will have to move the tapering back a little bit, but I want to be a little bit, or I want to be more sure of how long I need the taper to be. Give me a second. My nose is itchy. All right. I think we're all right. Force isn't important. Accuracy is important. Yes, much more important accuracy. Especially because you want to make sure that you are hammering directly on your piece of steel. Now, I always recommend that people, when they first start making or like being a blacksmith, that instead of getting an anvil in the beginning, that they start out with a giant chunk of like just mild steel. Now, mild steel is a lot softer than any anvil or like a piece of tool steel. And the reason I tell you that is because a piece of mild steel will dent. It won't give you that return. So if you have an errant blow, you won't end up hitting yourself with it, right? But you will end up with like little dents and dings. And you definitely want your surface to be nice and flat when you're doing tapers so that you don't end up transferring that dent everywhere, right? But you're actually able to hammer back the material into the dings that you create in the mild steel. All you need to do is hammer on, because when you're making a ding or with a hammer, you're actually digging in, but the material is being displaced. So if you hammer on top of the displaced material, you'll start flattening it back into the divot. Use the force, Luke. I mean, Ray. I mean, that works too, right? Luke uses the force. Darth Vader uses the force. Kylo Ren uses the force, and Rey uses the force, right? That's how that works. Let's do another heat. And if it doesn't fit, use more force. Yes. More force. Alright, I'm gonna do this. Grab it like that. We're getting there. Yeah, not too bad. If you take a look at this side and compare it to this side, it's a lot wider and a lot shorter. But as we reduce the width, we'll get that length. So we just got to keep on keeping on. kind of my motto for a lot of things. Just keep on keeping on and it'll work out in the end. So mild steel is very flat, but less bouncy. Why is the anvil bouncy good? So the reason why you want the bounce on an anvil is because you want the return. It's a lot harder to pick up the hammer off of the face of the anvil every single time, right? So that bounce that you're getting, it helps you pick up the hammer for your next blow. So it takes a little bit of the stress off of your body, and it saves a bit of stamina, if that makes sense. And if it still doesn't work, try reading the manual. Blacksmithing is all manual. Well, not always. I mean, I've got the press over here, and there are a lot of blacksmiths who have power hammers and, you know, lots of machines. Sometimes it's all manual, sometimes it's all machine. And they're both valid, you know. Ah, like a good shoe, it makes the next stride easier. Exactly, exactly. All right, more water. I'll be right back. We're in that section of time where it is just hot enough that I start sweating, but it's all humid, so it's sticky from the, you know, from the get-go. It's not putridly hot, but it's not cool either. I don't know which is worse. Oh, come on. My water jug is it's pouring out slowly. I must have only put 4 cups in this time instead of 5. I normally put about 5 of these inside my jerry can. I would redeem hydrate, but there isn't one, and Ray doesn't need reminding. I try very hard to keep hydrated. All right, let's do another heat. Hydration is important, guys. Hydration is important. All right. So I'm going to kind of use my fingers as a caliper a little bit. Got a little bit further to go. I think we're doing all right, though. I don't think we need to pull back any further. Hydrate, yes. Because the memory of a kid's kidney stone is still very much, yes, it is still very much in the forefront of my brain. You say I drink a lot of water. I hear I drink a lot of, that will do. I drink a lot of, I don't know. What do I drink a lot of? I drink a lot. I mean, I do drink a lot. But it's usually either soda or water. I also drink a lot of Gatorade, especially in the summer. Got to keep those electrolytes up. Damn phone. I drink a lot of vodka, wine, whiskey, rum, tequila, whiskey, absinthe. I don't actually drink a lot of alcohol. That is the one thing that I don't drink a lot of. Occasionally, I will drink a few, drinks here and there if I'm in a social event where that's required of me. But I don't really choose to drink a lot of alcohol, and I think that partially is because back when I was in college, I was super super poor, and all of the like little bit of money that I was able to scrounge up had to go to art supplies. So I just never had the money to go out drinking. So I never really developed a taste for it. And so I don't drink a lot. I do a lot of MMOs, and that's kind of how I release steam. You know, I murder pixel characters. Lots and lots of pixel characters. Hi, I'm Mike, and I'm an alcoholic. That was supposed to be a joke, but my stupid phone kept putting of after a lot. Yeah. Beer, don't forget beer. Gatorade, in the words of Lieutenant Data on Star Trek, it is green. See, I've got green, or I've got blue Gatorade, red Gatorade, and yellow Gatorade right now. But I guess the yellow Gatorade is kind of greenish. I can see it. I'm going to do another heat before the ad starts. We've got an ad in about 3 minutes, but that's plenty of time for this one, so I will be right at that. Right at that. I don't know if that's a very good word combination choice. I don't know. Brain. All right. Not bad. They're relatively similar. I am going to go back to the flat of the anvil, kind of straighten this out a little bit. And then I think we're also going to take off all of the corners and turn this into a round neck on both sides of this piece. Maybe I will also flatten out these areas as well. I can do that. Why do we follow Ray? Well, the Smithy, obviously, but that she announces all the adverts is nice to know as well. I mean, I don't know. It gives me notifications, and I sit here and I read all your chat, and I have to read all the notifications too. I don't know. I pay attention because I try, you know. Sometimes I forget when I have, like, especially when I'm on the coal forge. It gets really hard for me to delay heats. But I don't want to be one of those people who penalizes people for not being able to afford Twitch Turbo and like subscriptions and stuff. I want you guys to be able to give me subscriptions if you want to, but only if you want to, you know? It never fails. I'll start watching somebody that I really, really like on Twitch, and they'll get into some really good topic, and then the ad pops up, and I'm like, well, I only have one Prime sub, so, like, who do I give it to? You know? Ray Triss, we appreciate it. Even if we subscribe. I try. I try. So there is supposed to be an ad incoming at any minute now. It never tells me exactly when it's going to pop up. Oh, there it went. But yeah, so once that's over, I'll do my next heat. Like I said, we are going to be taking off the corners and kind of flattening out the little handy sections. The grabbers. And I'm still here. Awesome. I never know who gets the big ad, you know, because Twitch has this thing where it's like sometimes the ads are the big full screen ones and sometimes they're the little guys. So, you know, and I can't predict what ads you're going to get. Some people have longer ads and some people have shorter ads. And it all has stuff to do with like the little like banners and stuff that they post. So I just use the timer and I pay attention, or I try to. I'm going to move this camera again because apparently I've been recording for 30 minutes over here, it looks like. Let me move forward just a hair. Let's see if that is, I think that should be acceptable. Should be a decent angle. There we go. All nice and yeah. And you are on an hour and a half, so I'm going to refresh you. All right. Lucky me, I guess. Dodged a bullet this time. Ray tries. Yes, I do try. I try hard, man. I want to be good at this whole content creation thing. So I try very hard to get better and grow as a person and as a streamer. So. All right, let's do our next heat. That sounds Mexican. I don't know. Maybe. Ray trace? Maybe. All right, let's try and center this a little bit. And now we're going to get rid of these corners. I'm going to take another heat to continue getting rid of these corners. We're going to round this guy out. And then we're going to flatten this section here. Once we're done with that, we're going to turn it around and do it again. Do it again. Water, water. I don't know why, but that just made me think of water, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. But I have a lot of water around to drink, you know? I do have some water that you wouldn't want to drink in the quench bucket over there because it's like full of rust and nasty metal shavings and things. But, you know, I also have a jerry can over there so I can drink it. So Spanish, Nahati, or one of the other 62 languages. I don't know. There are a lot of indigenous languages from Central America. But I think we were thinking Spanish. Ray trace is like 3. You know, I think trace is the Spanish word for 3. Although that's probably a horribly American accent there. Beats me, I failed my Spanish class. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, the rhyme of the ancient mariner. Water, water everywhere, but not any to drink. Or not any drop to drink. Yes. Hey, Corwin, good afternoon. I am great. How are you? We are working on our set of grill tongs. That's kind of the design-ish that we're going with. So we are making the neck right now on one side of it. We are taking the corners off of the section that we tapered out. And then we're going to start flattening out the little grabbers. Ray tracing sounds a bit stocky, actually. Not bad, just got out of a meeting. Ooh, meetings. Is this one of those meetings that could have just as easily been an email? I hear those happen a lot. My partner complains about them all the time. This could have just been an email. All right, let's do another heat. Nah, it was actually interesting. That's good. I'm glad that it wasn't just like, a meeting that was boring and should have been an email. All right. Now that we've rounded that out, I have to decide whether I want to squish out the grabber or if I want to round out this side. I think I should probably squish the grabber, but I'm going to heat that back up again just to be a little bit overly cautious. We might actually have to pull this back a little bit. I may have... Yeah, this side's a little bit longer than this side is. This is a high-tech GPU channel using iron rather than silicon. Does iron become a semiconductor if you beat it hard enough? Honestly, I don't know. Does it? I don't know much about computer parts. All I know is that if you, I know that, the square peg goes in the square hole, etc. I can build up, I can put the parts in a motherboard, but like that's about it. I don't know how they get made. Ugh. Iron oxide is a semiconductor. Interesting. I would not have known. Iron oxide is rust. So I keep using my fingers like this as kind of a set of calipers. And I'm going to tell you guys a story about when I started figure sculpting. I took a class called figure sculpting. So instead of, drawing figures like human beings, we were sculpting them. So my teacher told us that we needed to cite and measure the subject and create one side of a face, right? So I looked at the model and I created one side of the face. And then I started citing and measuring for the other side. And my teacher's like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stop doing that. All you need to do is go like this. You can use your fingers as calipers and transfer one side to the other. And I was like, okay, cool, I can do that. So then I started using my fingers as calipers to transfer one side of the model to the other side on my, clay sculpture that I was making. And you know what? I got that back when it got, or after it got graded, and I only got a C. And I was like, why? And my teacher's like, one side was perfect and the other side was really wonky. And I'm not sure what you did, because it should have been perfect, because, your first side was. You know what happened? My thumbs have a different amount of joining. So this one can bend further back than this one can. I kind of got that hitchhiker's thumb. Well, one side goes further than the other. So that's why my finger calipers didn't work for that project. It was kind of BS. I was mad. I would have been fine if I had just sighted and measured both sides. Oh, that is why Ray makes all the scale, to forge a GPU from it with ray tracing. Yes. Ray is very, very right-handed. She is. I mean, look at this. Crazy. Goodness gracious. All right, let's do another heat. I'm going to work a little bit on this backside. Like I said, it's a little bit too short. So let's fix that real fast. All right, now we're going to take the corners off, just like we did previously, and turn that from a square profile to a round. All right, that should be good. Then now we're going to start squishing that side. I'm sorry, I told you I was going to squish it and then I didn't. But yeah, we should be able to get the little grabbers done on both sides, and as well as rounding out the necks. I'm hoping by the end of the stream. I think if we get that far, I'm probably not going to start working on that central hinged area. I'll probably save that for Wednesday, so that we have a decent amount of work that we can do. So I have a full stream worth, I guess. If we do end up finishing that on Wednesday before the stream is over, I might actually go and start making some more nails for the rest of the stream. If we have extra time at the end. Just because I definitely need more practice making nails. But that will be Wednesday. A week from today. Throwing all those highly technical blacksmithing terms around. Squishing. Yes. Yeah, it's highly technical. I mean, at least I'm not giving you the technical terms for glass blowing. I mean, it is a technical term, glory hole. It's a similar size, like round heating air or implement that's similar to one of my forges here. And that heats the glass after you start working on it. It's called a glory hole. I think that the people who invented those terms thought it was funny. Then you got punty rods. There's a lot of really questionable technical terms for glass blowing. Here, we blacksmiths, we are better than that. Really? Glory hole? Yes. Yes. It is the technical term for the apparatus that reheats glass on a glass blower's rod after they work. But they blow into the glory hole with a straight face. I mean, they do. That's what they do. That's their whole thing. We are better than that. We blacksmiths, you know. At least I think we are. I think we are. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, you can totally check it out. It's funny. I took glass blowing in college, and we were just sitting there giggling the entire time. When our teacher was talking about the terminology, and he goes, "You guys are so like junior hires. Why you gotta giggle like that?" I mean, we were all like well into our 20s. It was an advanced class. I don't think so. I follow a glass blowing Twitch channel. They have been known to giggle. Yeah, they do. There are several. There's a few glass blowing channels here on Twitch. Um, yeah, I like to raid off to them when they're available. I haven't seen very many, or like they haven't been doing streaming at the time where it's conducive for us to raid to them. But yeah, I do enjoy it. You know, you go from the heat back into the heat. Let's do another. All right. We're gonna flatten out our grabber, and I want the sides of it to be parallel. I want it to grow outward and not wide, or like wide, I guess. All right, more heat. We're getting there. Making grabber claws. That's a technical term, guys. I like to watch glass blowing, but could never do it myself. I mean, it's definitely it can definitely be intimidating. So when you're shaping the glass, you kind of sit down and you're rolling the rod that you've got the glass on over top of your seat, and you can use a wooden shaping tool, but a lot of glass blowers, like the really advanced ones, they actually use a wet newspaper. And I would be too terrified to do that because I'd be afraid that like the newspaper would slip and I'd touch the glass. And it's really sticky, so I am convinced that it would stick to my hand just like, you know, hot chocolate when you're, you know, taking a chocolate chip cookie out of the oven. Yeah, I don't I did glass blowing for one semester, but after that I just couldn't do it. Instead, I picked this, you know? At least when I burn myself, whatever I burned on, you know, will fall off. It won't stick to me. Unless it's my clothes, like synthetic clothes. I can't get fully 100% cotton clothes anymore. Very disappointing. Too expensive. Glass blowers are insane. The newspaper catches fire occasionally. It does, man. It does. So the idea is that they take these wads of folded newspaper and they soak them in water. And when they pull them out and they use it to shape the glass, the heat from the glass actually instantaneously vaporizes the water on the newspaper, creating a steam bubble between the glass and the newspaper, right? Well, if your newspaper isn't wet enough, it just ends up burning the newspaper. So you have to be really, really careful to keep your newspaper wet enough to keep that steam bubble in between your hand and the glass. Truths, stores for cotton shirt. Oh, thrift stores, yeah. I definitely need to go and find some thrift store cotton shirts. But I end up getting all of my shirts from like blacksmithing stuff, right? So you can kind of see this shirt. There's an anvil on the back of it. I got this for demonstrating at a Boy Scout rendezvous. I was the blacksmith demo person. So that's where I got this shirt, and I've gotten shirts from the Metals Museum. I've gotten shirts from the different conferences that we've been to together. A lot of my shirts come from blacksmiths. You would think that those would be cotton. They're not. Glass blowers make blacksmiths look sane. Do they? I kind of feel like that's a matter of perspective and individual. All right, that's actually about where I want it to be. I am going to take that, turn them a little bit more parallel. We've got a little bit of curve at the end too. I'm going to kind of hammer that back. I got to be a little bit careful though, hammering it back like this. I think I'm going to grab some more heat so I can upset that back in there. What do you guys think? Is it starting to look like a little grabber for meat? Meat grabbers. You know what? I'm not going to say that combination of words again. My brain just went some kind of places there. When I did glass blowing, it drove me crazy how quickly it cooled down. Metal can still be worked longer than glass. Glass, you have a couple of seconds. Metal works for a few seconds longer. Definitely does. It is so much more important to be very quick with what you do with glass, because you have to make sure that it's not slumping on you and that it stays where you want it. So you've got to have that centrifugal force of like rolling the rods back and forth, or in the glory hole or whatever. It's very, very delicate work, and I definitely respect glass blowing. It is definitely a different skill, but I feel like you have to work faster. That piece of metal you are pointing at very closely, that is glowing very bright, is very hot. No, it's extremely hot. Yes, it is. But that's all right. I'm very practiced, and sometimes I do touch it, but I'm very practiced with, accepting the burns. Let's do another heat. I think this will be our last heat on this side for the moment. I think after this, we're going to flip our piece upside down and start working on the other side. that's a pretty decent little, I guess, jaw. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn this around and we're gonna do the exact same thing, but on the other side. So we are going to round out this neck area and then we're gonna flatten out this little jaw. And then we'll have two sides. Exciting, exciting. All right, it looks like we've got about 30 minutes left. That's just enough time for us to finish the other side. Do you prefer to make things simply or add artistic flair? It heavily depends on who the client is and what they're looking for. I myself have a tendency to add a lot of twists to my work. If I'm just doing whatever for no one specific, like I said, I do a lot of twisting, but I also very much respect a very simplistic and modern aesthetic with like very sharp lines and flats and things like that. So it's kind of, like I said, it depends on who the client is, who I'm trying to impress. You guys, I kind of tend to do things relatively simply just because we don't have a lot of time together. So some of the more artistic flares would take extra time that we just, I like to condense things a little bit. So there will be times where we'll do much more artistic looking things, but I kind of do a little bit of a balance, I think. Ray is a twisting the night away, or is twisting the night away. Yes, let's do the twist. Is it this way or is it this way? Is the torso going backwards? I think it's this. This is the twist, right? And then I think that's the twist. Anyway, we do have another ad coming up. This is the 2-hour ad, I guess. And so once that's over, we will do our next heat. I want to get enough heat in the jaw and the little nubby at the end that we can get a good amount of work in. Oh, am I out of water again? Now I am. You know what? While the ad is going, I'm going to grab another Gatorade or a Gatorade. But I am going to change the camera angle again. Because I kind of want to, have lots and lots of choices. I like choices, guys. It makes editing more fun. Ray doing her Mary Tyler Moore dancing the twist impression. Yes! I like to do the twist. Let's do the twist. I don't know. It's just one of those simple dances. I mean, I could do the Macarena for you guys too, right? My partner thinks that I shouldn't do things like that for you guys because I'm not a trained monkey. Sometimes I think it's fun to do like fun little dances and stuff, but maybe not so much on command. I don't know. Oh, goodness. I am starting to feel that we've been going for about 2 hours. Definitely looking forward to taking a break. Hey, Al Teller, welcome to the stream. Not a trained monkey if you can refuse. That's so true. So true. All right, I am going to grab a Gatorade so I have something else to drink. Give me just one moment. Let's see. Grab red because I like red better than blue. Because red. Adverts. Yeah, we've got adverts. I don't know what it is, but the very first drink that I take out of every Gatorade, I inhale it somehow. And then I feel like I have to cough. So I'm sorry about that. I need to learn not to inhale my Gatorade. Goodness gracious. So, tomorrow I have to edit some videos, put up some shorts, and I have to do a bunch of packing and laundry. And I need to make sure that I have snacks and soda for the road. And yeah, it's going to be fun. We're getting ready to go to Quad State. And we're gonna have a lot of fun over at Quad State. We're gonna get a lot of videos. We're gonna post them on the YouTubes, and we're gonna do a live stream on Saturday from the conference itself. They're exposing Earth that hasn't been exposed to air in generations. Are they? Hey there, Dr. Optimal. Am I late? I blame work. Yeah, you're a little late. We've got about 20 minutes left in the stream, unfortunately. I will have the VOD from this stream out on YouTube tomorrow. And obviously, once I am off live, you can take a look at the VOD that we've made. Probably, I think there's like only a minute between when when you end stream and when the live gets posted. So if you'd like to see from the beginning, otherwise, I mean, I'll show you what I've made today or the progress that we've made. We started with a 16-inch piece of 5/8 square stock, and that is 40.32 or 40.64 centimeters long and 15.88 millimeters square bar. And we've made quite a bit of progress. We aren't going to finish these tongs. We are doing tongs, grill tongs for our project today. But, we will finish them on Wednesday. Didn't you say they were tearing up trees too? Yeah. I think they only got one torn up at the moment. But they did actually fill dirt all of the holes that were in the basements of those houses over there. So I think that's what I've been hearing is them fill dirt or putting fill dirt in the basements. They are going to turn them into tennis and pickleball courts if you play. It'll be interesting. All right, let's do another heat. Can't have pickleball courts with trees. That is the case. Gotta pull up the trees eventually. All right. So we're taking off the corners. going to take one more heat to finish rounding these guys. So we've got this side done for the most part, except for we need to round off this neck and flatten out our little, I don't know, jaw. But on this side, if you take a look at it, we're pretty well done with that. We've got ourselves a little jaw and a neck. So that's what we're doing on this other side back here. So on Wednesday, we're going to take a look at our little center punched area in that center. We're going to squish this down so we can make a spring so that we can grab both sides and click them together like castanets. This has nothing to do with flipping steak. It's all about making little clinky sounds, you know, castanets. Click, 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 click. No one will ever find what's buried under there now. Yes. Do you ever work with round stock? I just noticed in these have all started with square-ish stock. I do occasionally start with round stock, but the reason that I specifically, I usually start with square stock is because when I'm working with round stock, the first thing that I do is square it up. So it's just easier to start with square stock. That way it takes that step out completely. Because if you are doing a taper, you know, you're going to start on, you know, the length and width of it. So it ends up turning into a square anyway. If I have round stock laying around for whatever reason, I do use it. It's just that most of the stock that I start with, I bought specifically to forge with. So I usually just buy square. It's just easier. Put them in a tree museum by Joni Mitchell. Yeah, because, you know, we paved paradise to put up a parking lot. Also, we're back in Spain, are we? That totally makes sense. Yes. So I try to work smarter, not harder. But yeah, when I buy new stock, which I often do because I like using known stock, but when I'm sorry, there is a surveyor that is like in my yard. Anyway, so what was I saying? Oh, when I buy new stock, I usually buy 5/8 inch square because it's a nice thick, solid piece, or I buy 1/4 inch square stock. So in metric, that would be 15.88 millimeters for the 5/8 inch, and then for the 1/4 inch stock, what did I do with that? I wrote it down. On this napkin, I think. Nope, not this napkin. What napkin? Oh, I think I threw away the other napkin. I'm sorry. Let me go grab that. The other is, the 1/4 inch in metric is, haha, I found it. 6.35 millimeters, guys. I pay attention to who my audience is, and I try very hard to remember to translate imperial to metric. But yeah. The best things are often written on napkins. That checks out. Yes, right? All right, let's do another heat. I want to get to the point where we can start working on the center. So what we're doing right now is rounding out the neck. Making sure everything's all nice and easy on the fingers. So when you're touching It feels nice. So not bad. I think we're doing pretty good. We've got round there, we got round there. Okay, so for our next heat, we are going to spend that flattening out this little area here into the other grabber. The entire spec for UTF was written on a napkin. You know the inch is actually defined by the millimeter now. I do know that, actually. But the reason that I have to, start with imperial is that when I buy things, I buy them in imperial measurements, right? So I have memorized like the imperial measurements for most things, and then I'm starting to memorize the metric conversions, but it's harder for me to start with them because since I live in the United States, it is harder to come by metric things. Having just said she starts with square stock as it's easier, now she is rounding out the neck. Yeah. Like, so I start with square stock because it makes it easier, but sometimes I want to end with round stock. So then I have to manually round it. And if I had started with round stock, I would have squared it up first and then rounded it at the end. Exactly like I'm doing now. If you want to taper round stock and keep it round, that's how it works. Now, for this next heat, I have to pay specific attention to which direction my tongs are facing, right? Because I don't want my one side to be this way and the other side to be this way. I don't want them to be perpendicular. I want them to be the same size, or I guess the same twist, because when I twist the handles, I want them to come out exactly the same. So I want them to, kind of come together like a flat, like, clapping hands. Can't you just get it hot and roll it like Play-Doh into a round piece? I mean, I can. If I want no more skin on the palms of my hands. That would be rather painful. So yeah, I try to do it with the hammer so that I'm not, I like my skin. Okay. Let's start making or flattening out the end. All right, we're paying attention. I want the end to be like so. Okay, flat, flat. Okay, cool. Flat, flat, cool. Parallel edges. Flip it. And more heat. So we've got the jaw started here, and we've got the other jaw pretty much finished over here. So this has a lot more meat than this side does. So we're kind of trying to make the same little jaw shape, or the same shape for the jaw. That's what I'm trying to say. The same shape. The iron steel shouldn't be hot generally. I think you should keep the green flame. Halloween is coming up. It makes it look like magic flames. See, at this point, I'm pretty sure I can't prevent the flame from going green. It's just gonna always be green because there's contamination in it. So, I'm gonna plan on doing 2 more heats to finish out the little grabber. We're gonna do some. We're gonna continue shaping the piece for the first heat, and then we're gonna kind of finesse it for the second heat. But yeah, we will be doing 2 more heats, and then we will end the stream. So if there's anybody that you guys would like to raid to, please do let me know. I always take you guys' suggestions. Lead the raid, guys. Or at least if you want to. Otherwise, I will find someone fun and, you know, we will watch them. What is the story of your anvil? Did you get it new or was it a stray found on the side of the road? The story of my anvil is I had another anvil and it was a Harbor Freight special. It was made out of drop forged steel, but it wasn't like a hardened anvil. And I really wanted a proper anvil. So I went to Craigslist and I spent a couple months looking for one that was in my price range. And I liked the pattern, right? So eventually I saw this guy for $200 in, where was it? Springfield, Missouri. And it was missing the top plate, but I was not smart enough to know that it was broken. I thought it was a special pattern of anvil because I was still relatively new at blacksmithing. I didn't have a lot of formal training yet. So I drove my truck out to Springfield, Missouri, which at the time was about 4 hours away from where I was living at the time. And I paid my $200 and I brought it back home. And that is the story of my anvil. All right, we're going to do another heat. 1 of 2. Later on, I did find out that the anvil had a broken faceplate. I still use it, and it's still relatively functional. Got a good return. All right. They're looking pretty similar, if you ask me. Yep, pretty darn similar. I'm going to do a little bit of finessing for our next heat, and then we're going to raid off. I believe that some coyotes have an account with the Acme Corp and can just buy cheap anvils. See, I wish I had the Coyote / Roadrunner discount, but unfortunately I don't, you know. But yeah, I spent months looking on Craigslist for an anvil that I really liked and was in my price range. Um, Somebody else gave me my previous anvil for free, and I used that one for a really long time. And you can get away with a lot with just a piece of mild steel. You don't really need a a special anvil if you can't get a hold of one. I used to work at a manufacturing plant and we had a machine that kept breaking down. It was an Acme machine. Really mirroring the cartoons. Yeah, that's kind of funny. I am aware that Acme does it is a real company. They also do there are real Acme anvils out there. I have not come across any in real life, but they exist. They exist. They got the name from the real company, I believe. I think they did too. I do. Alrighty. We're gonna do one more heat. This is gonna be our last heat, guys. One more heat, one more heat. Gonna do a little bit of finessing on the anvil, or I mean on the paddle. Make sure that those edges are nice and parallel and have a good shape. All right. Not bad, not bad. So, this is where we are today. We will be back at this project on Wednesday of next week. Friday's stream is being pushed back to Saturday at 2:30 Eastern, United States time. We will be live from Quad State, and I hope that I have some interesting stuff for you guys. We're definitely going to be seeing some demos from other blacksmiths, and we'll probably do a little bit of shopping. But I want to see if we can't find some interviews as well. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I will hopefully see you on Saturday. 50-50 shot of Monday stream. And I will definitely see you guys on Wednesday. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I have had so much fun. Alrighty. Let's see. We're going to do this. You guys also have a great evening. 2:30, the dentist time. Yeah. The dentist time. Alright, guys. Who do we got? Nice going, Ray. Thanks for showing these grill tools. You're welcome. This has been a really fun project. Yeah, a really fun project. Not something that I would have thought of on my own. So thank you guys for, telling me that this is what I should be doing. Who do we got? Who do we got? Let's see who is available. turning. That sounds like fun. We're going to come visit Lisa Ramlow, who is doing some wood turning. This is a new person that we haven't yet rated. Thank you all for joining me today, and I hope to see you Saturday, and I will definitely see you on Wednesday. Later, guys!
That's